And so we understand, if we understand this very central biblical theology, that the gospel is personal, but it's never private. It should affect everything, the way we look at the world, the way we spend our money, the way we vote, everything. And at its core, the thing that really compels us to put our lives aside, to get beyond our own self-interest, is simply this: the unfathomable love of God. For the love of Christ constrains us, compels us, urges us on. That's what it means. The love of Christ urges us on. In deep gratitude and deep humility and deep joy, we press on toward that commitment to get beyond our own self-interest. Because the one died for all, therefore those who live should no longer live for themselves, but for the one who lived for them. And behold, there's a new creation. All things are new. The old things have passed away. The new heaven and the new earth. That is the second pole. The new heaven and the new earth. You see, the kingdom of God. I talked about this before. The phrase seems a little archaic, I know. The realm of God, the domain of God, whatever you want to call it, this reality, it's spiritual, yes. It has to do with seeing the world in a new way. It has to do with this deep communion and connection with the divine. It's very spiritual, but it's also very practical. It's very earthy. It's very earthly. Now, what would the kingdom of God becoming a reality mean for most of the people in the 2/3 world? It would mean having enough food to eat. That's what it would mean. I mentioned escalating food prices. For those of us in the affluent part of the world, if they double, it's no big deal. After all, we spend maybe 7% of our income on food. People in other places in the world spend 70%, so if it doubles, it's 14%. But do the math on that one. I mean, my gosh, we still live in the land of the 99-cent double cheeseburger. The 59-cent taco. I can have lunch for $1 at Taco Bell. Speaking of Taco Bell, you know, national news now, the farm workers are trying to get more money for the tomatoes they pick. They want a penny a pound more for the tomatoes they pick. And they're having to fight for it. They haven't had an increase in the tomatoes they pick in 20 years. Now, let me tell you about these farm workers. And I haven't been out to these fields, but I spent time with migrant workers in the farms in California, so I know something about them. These farm workers are going out and picking 32-pound baskets of tomatoes every day. One basket, 32 pounds. They then have to pick up the basket and run 100 feet to dump it into the truck. Run. They want a penny a pound more, which for them would mean an incredible amount of money, maybe $150 a month. Now, why aren't they getting it? They don't have a lot of advocates. They have one very strong advocate in Bradenton, and it's a lady we support. She's called Sister Nora. Sister Nora, Still Point House of Prayer, which we support significantly through our giving and volunteerism, doesn't just dole out money. She's been an advocate for these workers for 30 years. She goes to meetings. She represents them. She's their voice. That's what the price of food means for some people. Do you know there are still over 1 billion people on this planet who live in absolute poverty, less than $2 a day? Did you know that half of the children who are born in absolute poverty will never see their 5th birthday? That's not right. Did you know that every 3 days, the same number of people die of starvation as were killed by the atomic bomb in Hiroshima. Every 3 days. And at the same time, Americans, who constitute about 6% of the world's population, consume about 40% of its resources. Well, that's another sermon. You know, there's something right. There's something wrong. Something is not right. Something does not line up. Reconciliation. Something is askew when we throw away so much food after breakfast, and there are people 100 miles away who are starving, 100 miles off the mainland of the United States who are starving. Something's not right. We're called to bring in the new heaven and the new earth, to be ministers of reconciliation, to set things right, to set things straight. Something's not right in the midst of this disparity. It's happening all over the world. It may be happening here. I think we have a looming crisis right here in our own country, in our own backyard. But in relative terms, it's really happening out there. Some of you may have seen the article in the New York Times this week on Haiti, another story on Haiti. And it's very difficult for me to read. I know it's difficult for you to read. And the story of a mother in one of the poorest barrios, suburbs of Port-au-Prince, with her listless baby and 4 small children. And she's saying to a stranger, "Please, take one of my children. I can't feed them. You choose. Take one of my children. You choose." Something doesn't line up here. And I don't know exactly what to do about it in my life, but I know I'm compelled to think about it. And I know that we're compelled to move beyond guilt, to try to become the ministers of reconciliation, to build that new heaven and new earth. Because the love of Christ compels me. I think I'll stop there, maybe finish next week. That's one of the beauties of being the regular guy in the pulpit. It's always next week. So let's close with a hymn.